wholeheartedly ang aton pagpamati sa ginahambal sa aton, ginatudlo sa aton, kay ini hindi lang para sa inyo, kundi madala ninyo ang aton probinsya into a tourism digital transformation.
I am very honored to be here and to be a participant of this Tourism Comp 2018 at Guimaras State College. We have a lot of learnings nga natunan, especially nakabuild kami sa teamwork, and I know how to cope with others.
3, 2, 1, go!
learn, isa na dito ang photography workshop namon. Kag ang pinaka the best ko gid nga na learn is ang event organizing, kay as an SK chairman, ma-implement sa amon nga barangay ang amon nga na learn ko sa sininga ka.
I think dyan talagsalang ni aring dyan Bilakson, DSWD, DOT, ang LGU nga nag-support sa sininga program. Personally, ma-partner kamo namon sa pag-push further sa development. Sa nasiling ko na it's 60, pero kung bulaligan, dani masi before malabotan 70% sa lalabuton sa probinsya sa Guimaras. So congratulations.
This is the party.
Very much for sharing your knowledge with us. Nagapasalamat ako sa pag-imbitar sa amon sa diring event sa Tourism Comp 2018.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. This is another great day for everybody. It's Family Day, but for all our researchers, extensionalists, and inventors, this is a great day for all of us to learn something more from our speaker. So let's start the day first with a prayer before we continue having this special talk with Sir Peter. Let's all pray first.
Lord of wisdom, source of intelligence, we welcome you to this auspicious gathering, an august moment for the pursuit of knowledge that is offered for the glory of your name. We do not wish to ask you more than just you joining us today, but we look forward to your heavenly grace to amplify the desire for truth, to look up for and become prudent to learning. Keep us grounded in your love and mercy as we traverse a challenging path to keeping the inclination of understanding you and your most awe-inspiring creation. Be with us, O Lord, and descend your Spirit on us to maintain an earnest desire for knowledge, truth, and understanding you, the guide of the wise, the stronghold of the learned. This we ask through Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Good morning, Sir Peter. I can't hear you. Can we check something first? Yes.
Good morning.
Ah, there you have it. Yeah. That's the signature, the red lipstick. Anyway, sir, yes, today is a Sunday down here in the Philippines. So, how was your day after your long talk yesterday?
I had a good night rest, so that I'm very good. I've been reading a lot, so I think I'm ready for today, and I hope that our participants are ready for me. And I hope I can share something that would be meaningful and helpful. And I was just on hindsight, I guess I just failed yesterday to congratulate everybody, to warn everybody about the COVID pandemic and all that. And I'm feeling kind of that we are almost back to normal here in the US. I've been out to at least 3-4 states, and most of them have their masks off already. I've been going around hotels and restaurants, and people are not wearing masks anymore. So it feels like normal. So, but I don't know how it is in the Philippines. And I'm just worried about you people. Please take care of yourselves. When there's a vaccine available, whatever kind of vaccine, just get it. The vaccine will always help you.
Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. We need to be really safe in order we can keep going, right? It's new normal. We have been through more than a year already with the pandemic, and life must still go on. Anyway, today it's a Sunday. It's more on feedbacking. Maybe there are things that you might have missed yesterday, and it's time to inspire again our participants. So, okay, we've got questions prepared for you later on. You can probably do a little recap of what you mentioned yesterday, and then you can add up to those things today. You can go ahead.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, that sounds good.
You may start.
Did you want me to speak, or are you asking questions? What are we doing now?
We'll be shooting you questions, so may start having your talk now.
Oh, okay. I was reflecting what I said about yesterday, and I really feel that I have covered as far as I see. This is the thing. This is what my experience is and what people are communicating to me. So as far as I know, we have covered, I think, the basic problems and possibilities of online learning. I don't know exactly what you wanted to get from me and what experience you have. And I was thinking that, if you can tell me more about your experiences, if you can tell me more about your problems, then I'll be able to say more or probably share more. But it's just that, like, that online education is becoming a norm, is becoming a new mode, an important mode. And to make it work and to make it very effective, then we need to establish our soft infrastructure and make sure that we have the lines of communication, we have strong telecommunication signals, we have our Wi-Fi's, we have our data and data, our load for data and for internet use. And then we need to prepare our materials. If we are in the educating end, if we are from the universities or training centers, we need to create our materials that are responsive to the needs of our users, of our students. It means a lot of preparation, but also it could, in the long run, it could be easier because you can just recycle these materials, use them semester in and semester out with different students. Like once you have a package, or once you have filmed and packed and canned a lesson, you can just play it anytime. That's basically what I got to from this company called Great Courses. And what they do is they record professors teaching certain subjects, and they sell the DVDs at a much lower cost. And they can do that because, well, a lot of people are buying them. So I've studied, for example, Shakespeare. I've studied classical music. I studied communication. I studied the history of language. And that's my thing. Like as a student, I am able to study other courses from taped lessons, from taped lectures, and that is what I'm trying to look forward when we do online learning. Like we have some taped lectures, we have some materials that are live, like this Zoom interaction, but also you give materials to your students so that they can study in advance. And then, as I said, it's all about curating materials that we can find online and the resources that we find online. And I guess this is a good point also to be able to share what your classmates or I know that, for example, in Guimaras State University, you have students coming from all other places, and especially with your graduate studies, people come from different areas as far as like Iloilo and I don't know, maybe Palawan. Okay, so and then people would go to their weekend classes. So for me, having that online thing when people are able to connect, okay, via the internet, without the exhausting physical travel is a great advantage. And it may have been brought to the fore by the pandemic when physical distancing was necessary. But then, as I said, this has already been done a long time ago in the United States and other parts of the world. And it is just now being maximized in the Philippines. As far as the mindset to understand online and distance learning, we just need to understand what it is, why we're doing it, and its benefits, okay? Understanding the problems and the solutions also will come in handy as we deal, because as I said, the Filipinos are resilient, the Filipinos are resourceful, the Filipinos are able to make things work. We have that philosophy of, dealing with things with the use of humor, and I've also talked about the use of humor as in education. As I said, we are not a rich country, we are a poor country, and yet we survive and we are admired all over the world because of our sense of joy, our sense of resilience and survival. And as in all things, when we use our good creative, when we use our creative talents and energies for good things, for a good purpose, then the Filipino will see things through. What else can I talk about? I guess I was like, and I'm just repeating this, that in the 21st century, I think the key idea is that we should be open to ideas, to new ideas, okay? We should be open to new possibilities, to new ways of solving problems, to new approaches, okay? Non-traditional approaches, alternative approaches, okay? The only thing that we should have as basic or as foundation are those educational foundations. The most basic truth, which should not even be belonging to certain schools of thought, but just the basic goodness. So, and I always relate that to how do we become better human beings? How do we become better persons in the planet? And when we are able to do that, then we are able to respect not only our learners, but we are also able to respect the system, okay, the educational system. We are still bound by an educational system. We are able to respect ourselves as educators, and we are able to respect everyone else in the planet, respect for scientists, respect for experts, respect for authority. Because in the end, while it would seem that the 21st century is a free for all, the world cannot really, as I said, the society cannot really operate on a free for all format. There has to be some surrender of rights, some surrender of power for the society to exist and for order to be a reality. I really think that we should be that questions would be helpful at this point, so I can elaborate more. Sure, Jimmy. Okay. Just to what else? Hello? Well, it looks like I need to continue. And so I'm just gonna say that at this time I also feel that I need to reiterate that in the 21st century, in the form of our education in 21st century, it is important that we listen, to our learners, that we listen to the concerns of our learners, we are better able to serve them when we perform or when we act like Google. Google is a good tool, for example, and a good online tool, because when people have problems, they ask Google and Google provides the answer. And that is why, as I said, perhaps I could be more effective as a lecturer or as a resource person if you have specific questions and I just give you specific answers to your specific questions. And so I think that we should encourage our students to be asking questions, whether in the classroom or in webinars and conferences and everywhere else. I feel that questioning is a very creative way of learning, but also a creative way of and questioning is a creative pursuit. Like, when you try to discover something, when you try to find answers and
Tugma ko sa laptop mo.
you ask questions. Are we back?
Yes, we're back.
Okay. Sir, as I said, maybe I could be helped by a few questions.
Okay. Now, when pandemic hit the world, we have started having this online or distance learning. Okay, now considering Philippine setting, what are the things that you want to see improve considering online learning, considering Philippine setting?
Okay. In the Philippine setting, again, the problem always are the technicals and the network connection. And so, as I said, this is what I refer to as the soft infrastructure. Like, normally when people think of infrastructure, they think of buildings, right? So those I call those buildings and bridges and roads. So those are the hard infrastructure. What I call the soft infrastructure are the telecom lines, the internet service, the all these things that allow us to connect to the internet and connect with other people. So these are very important as far as not only in education, but in bridging the online communities. I would see, for example, during Zoom or even in Messenger video calls, you got these video calls and then things lag. And then people always tell me, people are always apologizing. We're sorry that we have a bad connection, yada, yada, yada. And it would seem like I have a good connection in the United States. So so for the Philippines, I wish that we would have, better lines. And I think we are going there. So several companies are going to the Philippines to establish that. But also, please understand that we are an archipelago. So, the islands thing is, you might need a different tower every time, a cell site, in a different island. And then we are also typhoon prone, earthquake prone country. So all these things, the natural disasters, can affect how we maintain, how we protect those cell sites. Sometimes and we got power interruption. Our blackouts are so famous all over the world. Like in the United States, I lived here for, I don't know, maybe 16 years now. And I feel, or I remember probably only 1 or 2 blackouts. And when they happen, we got generators. So, in a matter of minutes, we get our power back. And we cannot afford blackouts and internet interruption in our hospitals, for example. And I know that in the Philippines, people can have a blackout for 1 week, or like, at worst, probably 3 months. Like, if you're in an island and your system is down and you need technicians, or you need help from another island, that could be terrible if the weather is bad. So all this, but in the education field, I also feel that we need to have, number one, good teachers. By that, I also mean good communicators, good lecturers, because not all teachers are equipped or are talented to be online teachers. Like, it needs a special training. It needs language proficiency. So like, somebody might be brilliant in mathematics, but they cannot communicate very well in English or whatever language that we have. So that kind of affects the quality of online education. If I were a math teacher, I really don't need English to deliver, because, I can do 1+1 on the board and just show the solution, or I can even explain it in Hiligaynon to make the students learn better. And then we need to have materials. So by materials, I mean, like, when you got modules, you got in the lectures, sometimes those teachers who can speak very well do not necessarily have also the talent and the capacity to write the right modules. So sometimes you need 2 people to do 1 job.
That's
Okay.
right.
So we need to train our presenters, okay? But we need to train also our module makers, or our the people who make the materials that are presented in the online classes. And then this is very ambitious, but I think that we need to also influence our Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education, especially with our curriculum. Our curriculum are as old as Jesus, and they need to be reinvented. Jesus has to be resurrected in a new time. Jesus has to be brought to the 21st century. There are efforts, but they are not implemented as fast. Like, I'm pretty sure that the pandemic has made us realize that some of the competencies in our curriculum guidelines are inefficient or ineffective, or absent. Okay, so I am expecting, actually, that's why probably the textbook that I've written may have to be revised, because I'm pretty sure that DepEd is now thinking what they have done wrong when you review your curriculum guideline and compare that with the reality of the pandemic. Very clearly, I've seen, for example, that the last guideline for contemporary arts from the regions of the Philippines, originally there were like, I don't know, kind of 17 or 18 competencies. And then last year, 2020, because of I'm not very sure if it was because of the pandemic, I've seen that some of them were lumped together, and they were brought down to 14 minimum learning competencies. And I'm pretty sure, because I was like, I'm studying the curriculum guidelines of the DepEd. I'm pretty sure that some of them are repetitive, and therefore they can be further reduced to be more responsive. Okay. I also feel that in the making of the curriculum, people have to be aware of the psychology, not only of the learners, but also of the topics. For example, in literature, we always teach literature, and we always teach literature as poetry and prose. And we always start with poetry because we think that giving the figures of speech will guide all the students all throughout. And I think that's a very wrong way of doing it because, number one, poetry is the most difficult of all the literary genres. So in my book, instead of starting with poetry, I start with fiction. I start with short stories. Why? Because everybody loves a story. Everybody loves reading prose that is almost similar to our speech pattern. Like, when we tell a story, when we tell a gossip, we tell a story, right? When we tell our dreams, when we meet our friends and talk to them and they ask us how we are, we tell them stories, little stories. And therefore, for me, the prose of short fiction is a logical starting point to teach literature. And then I moved on to playwriting because now it is close to telling a story, but this time we just concentrate on dialogues. And the dialogues can be realistic, they can be they can be sarcastic, they can carry loads of meaning, they can be emotional, they can be dramatic, okay, they can be mysterious, okay. And so by the dialogues, you also learn that you are lessening the number of words. Like in the short story, you have 5 paragraphs. In the play, of the same length, you can have short sentences or just sentences. And then the logical reduction would be poetry, wherein you use your emotional language, your mysterious language, your metaphors, and all that artful language in lines. And therefore, people can learn more because it's a build-up. Now compare that, it looks like a reduction, but it's actually a build-up in ideas. Can you imagine if you start with poetry and we agree that poetry is a difficult form? So if already the students are having difficulty in the first week of the class, what do you think will happen in the second week or in the third week? Like, they lose their interest in the subject because they feel that it is difficult. And therefore, people think that literature is difficult. In my way, in my logical presentation, people feel that literature is easy because it starts with the way we tell stories and the ones that we're familiar with. I know that there are a lot of poetry writers, trying to students trying to write poetry in high school, but these are like bad poetry because they really don't know what poetry is. So that they think that they know poetry, but they don't. And so I know for a fact that we have more short story readers compared to real poetry readers. Okay, given a choice, the junior high school, our grades 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Okay, given all things being equal and given two materials, people will choose a short story rather than poetry. Okay, so I think those are the 5 items that I wanted to see in the development of our online and improve our online learning. The infrastructure, the electricity, the energy, and then we have our presenters, our modules, and then our curriculum.
Okay, Sir Peter, having lived in the US for like 16 years, I'm pretty sure you have been meeting a lot of people. You have been observing the educational system in the US. You have learned something about the system. Now, is there anything in the US, I mean, a system that you think can be applicable or can be applied to the Philippine setting when it comes to online learning?
I Everything that you see in the United States is applicable to the Philippines. In fact, I was of the opinion some time ago that, like, what the United States is doing now will be adapted in the Philippines
Okay.
5 years, 10 years later. Now I am not of that opinion anymore. I
Okay.
feel that what the United States is doing now can be adapted to the Philippines now.
Mhm.
Because, like, before, I mean, I was looking of, like, Starbucks. You got Starbucks here, you got Starbucks have a start here, and now a few years later you have Starbucks in the Philippines. What we eat here is now all in the Philippines. You have McDonald's, you have Kentucky Fried Chicken, you have Starbucks, you have Wendy's, you have, everything else. Okay. Now, as far as technology is concerned, as I said, like, there was the Phoenix Online that has been there for a long time, and now you are trying to do online education in the Philippines. So that is happening. You got the Open University of the Philippines. What is now there is the low residency, but I think people are also doing that. Like, such schools as San Carlos University or University of the Visayas. Okay, I know some people studying at University of Visayas for graduate studies, and they come all the way from Panay. They would, drive all the way from Negros and go to Cebu to attend classes. And I'm pretty sure that is almost the same with Guimaras State University too. Like, people from other places going to Guimaras for the weekends and for the weekend studies. Then, like, we can really adapt the minimum residency. And what minimum residency is that, like, you meet your professor at the beginning of the semester, and then for the rest of the semester you communicate online, and then, like, towards the end of the semester you meet them again, and you pass your requirements, and that's it. So if there are, I don't know, are there 40 weeks in your semester too? If there are 40 weeks in the semester, then maybe you are just, like, meeting your professor for like 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks, and the rest of the week you're on your own, you're given the materials. So that is a possibility that can be done in the Philippines. What else? I've also seen, I really don't want this done in the Philippines, but if you do it in the Philippines, that's fine too. Like, where people are choosing their course, like, designing their course. This is the biggest thing that has that kind of impressed me in the last, I don't know, 5 years. There are people who design their courses and they make their own course. So instead of everybody just graduating from theater, for example, they have, like, performance and or digital performance. So they concentrate their studies on digital performance, meaning, like, they perform, they videotape, yada yada yada. Some people study pop culture and they have a certain course on movie stars like Madonna and Cher and Dolly Parton. So and then you begin to ask, what, you get a PhD and you're majoring in Madonna? So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna teach Madonna? Where is the course going? So There are so many courses now in the States, and as I said, um, it might lead to also the breakdown. And this is why I'm kind of protective. You know that I said that we need to protect the system, because if we just allow everybody to create their own degree, to design their own degree, then where are we going? Like, if I'm a student and I decide to concentrate on Philippine movies, or I just I'll be a master of Nora Honor movies. What do I do after that? And then we develop, in the United States, they develop certain kinds of experts because people don't really need to attend the university anymore. Or as I said, they can have this design course where they are an expert or something. So if you are a Madonna expert, do you really need to go to school for that? What do you do after that? You become an expert because you dedicate your life to it. So then maybe if we allow these things to happen, then maybe the university become obsolete, because everybody can be an expert by just spending time on their particular field.
Okay. Now, you mentioned before that online teachers need to be well prepared. One of them is they need to have certain training. From your point of view, what kind of training do you think they need to improve in order to have digital competences in response to the need of having online learning these days?
Well, number one, grooming. People need to be beautiful if they need to present something. If we are not well groomed, if we are not beautiful, you can have that. And then this is the thing, I mentioned great courses, and I mentioned great courses. There are 3 types, when you order great courses. Either A, you get the video lectures, and therefore you see the presenter. B, you got the audio tapes, just the audio, so you listen without seeing. And then you have the transcript, by which you read what has been lectured without hearing the voice, without seeing the person. But this also would would correspond to our types of learners. Those who are reading, we know, are your visual learners. Those who are listening in the audio tapes, we know that these are oral learners. And those who are watching the full presentation, the lecture, we can consider as your other than visual and auditory, we can also call their kinetic learners.
Yes.
Okay.
Learners.
So there you go. Those are the possibilities. So, but I'm talking now because I also feel that most people prefer to watch and listen to what they enjoy movies, they enjoy YouTube, they enjoy Instagram, and therefore I'm seeing, and therefore I'm saying that the new generation are into visual presentation. So if I'm a teacher, I need to be beautiful. I need to wear red lipsticks to get their attention. I need to have fine clothes. I need to be perfect. Okay. Now, depending on the resources, if you are rich, then you can get a good cameraman, a good, for me, I have troubles here adjusting with the light. Am I appearing too bright? Am I appearing too, so I'm studying where to get my best angle and all that. So if you have the money, if the university, the school is giving you money, then you can afford people to get good photos, good videos of you. But if you're like me and then you're working alone, you need to know these things. And even just the gestures of the hands is a big lesson. I can just like speak with my hands down and deliver the lecture as I would. But the hands, the movement of the hands, I learned as part of acting. So this is all acting lesson too. So people need to know theatricality. They need to know presentation. They need to know how to gather the attention, how to catch the attention. Because if I'm just like talking and my lips, I put the red lipsticks, not because I want the red lipstick, I don't wear it every day, but because I want you to look into my mouth, look at my mouth, so you will read my lips, so that if I mispronounce a word, you might see some shape of words. Okay, so and then I'm using my hands because my lips are too small, and therefore my hands will get your attention. You will wake if you're sleeping. I wake you up with my hands. You are directed to come back to me and all that. So this is all acting. This is all body language, and this is something that people need to learn if they need to be online. Anything else? Voice, of course, they need to study voice. Projection, but then of course you got microphones and all that. So those are on the physical side, which are very important and which should not be overlooked when you're going into online teaching. These are very important stuff. Okay, but more important, well, not more important, but equally important is the content of what we're saying. Okay, so we need a lot, and some, I know in great courses they have teleprompters, which means that the lecturers are reading from the screen, and they have different screens. They have 3 different screens for different angles. But if you're in the Philippines, I don't think you have 3 cameras. I don't think you have teleprompters. We're poor. So we try to improvise, and we try to make the best of what we have. But therefore, if we do not have our teleprompters, then we might have to do a lot of cutting. Camera angles. We need to have several takes. Or we need to memorize our lessons so we can deliver them.
Okay, now the next question is, this is a personal question. Now,
Go ahead.
you've been doing lectures, right?
Yes.
You have been doing lectures, right? Now, my question is, during this global pandemic.
Sorry.
Okay, you have been doing a lot. You have been doing a lot of lectures. Lectures. Okay. Now, during this global pandemic, in what ways have your lectures or your style of lectures and pedagogy changed when you teach literature or writing or something? Have you changed your style?
Not really. And I think that I am so attuned. I don't know if it's by luck, but I have already this kind of I'm so adjusted to the pandemic. I'm as a person, I live mostly in my house. I stay mostly in my house. So you can think that I've been quarantining myself for the longest time. I am alone. Okay, if I have my family are in another room. I'm in another room. I'm reading, but and in the manner of lecturing, I am not, I'm not scripted. I do not have a script. I mark down my main points, and I am fed. I am made more intelligent. I am made smarter by the questions that people ask me. So the more they ask me, the more I think. And the good thing with me is I can think fast, and I know everything that I'm talking about. I know my psychology. I know my anatomy and physiology. I know my human development. I know my education. I know my creative writing, I know literature, I know history, I know language. So I'm able to put them all together. And that's the thing. I'm always fed by, other than my interaction, I'm always fed by reading. When you asked me earlier how my day was, I said I had a good night's sleep. And then in the morning when I woke up, I had coffee, and then I started reading. And I'm telling you, I'm reading a lot. So part of the things that I've read, I have, it's basically the review of what I said yesterday and what I'm trying to communicate now. So it's all reinforcing my ideas, and therefore I know that I gave you, the best information I could, because those things that I said yesterday were not just my invention; they were reinforced by what my belief that I gave the good information. They were reinforced by what I read about what I read today. And then I've always been known as a provocateur. I like challenging people. I like challenging the norm and all that. And I've always found this very useful, even at the start of my journalism career, my newspaper career in 2000. So if you are, I created and people would attribute to me the sexual revolution in Western Visayas, because I remember in 2000, when we started the newspaper, the News Today, I wrote sex advice columns, which people sometimes forget, and they just think that it's a sex column. It's really a sex advice column. I'm not writing about, sex per se. I'm advising people if they have problems about sex. So, and then from those pages, I put the text to text, because in the early part of the new millennium, we have that texting. When people just first had the cell phone with the Nokia and all that, and people were starting to eyeball, and so those were the things in the early part, in the first decade of the millennium. And I created a column in the newspaper where people can find their text mates. So it's a text to text, and people are saying that because of the text to text and people eyeballing, and people started having connections and having sex and all that, they think that I started a sexual revolution in Western Visayas. Okay, and so I am always there to challenge the status quo, and therefore in my poetry, in my creative writing lectures, I am always there to challenge the status quo. Also, what does that mean? We have a literary establishment in the Philippines wherein our writers are those people, our big writers are only those people who are in the academe. The professors, the literature professors, the PhD in literature, the Masters of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. But what about people who do not have a degree in literature but would like to write? What about the poetry of the people from the farm? Why can we not honor their poetry as the poetry of our people, as the poetry of the generation? And that's why I think, and rightfully so, people recognize me as the people's poet, the poet for the people, because I write not for the professors, I write not for the academe, I write for the common tao, I write for the drivers and the lavanderas and the waitresses and whatever else, so they read my poetry in Panay News, in Hublas nga Kamatuoran, and Hublas nga Kamatuoran is the Hiligaynon sister publication of Panay News, but now they have changed name, and I think it's Panay Balita. So, and I would remember that people would buy Hublas nga Kamatuoran and read my poems in Hiligaynon, and these are the drivers, and they would fold this newspaper, and during the traffic, when there's traffic and the jeepneys cannot move, they would get this and would read my poem. So I know that jeepney drivers are reading me. Okay, I know for a fact that when the News Today, when I started as a sex advice column, that the students in the universities are passing around copies of the news today, and they look forward because they tell me. Because I was also the first journalist, that I was also the first newspaper man who gave my email address and who gave my cell phone number, and people text me. So I know that I am that I am affecting people and society. Now, I maintain that because I challenge the conservative ideas and the conservative norm of Iloilo and Western Visayas. I was always very irreverent, you might use the word. I was always mapangahas, and I was always challenging the society's norms. And it comes because, I'm a person who do not live, that does not live the ordinary life. I wear lipstick, I wear clothes that are not, what people would expect from me, from my sex. Okay, they did not see manly dress. I design my own clothes and all that. So, and all this has contributed to my person. And so when people get to feel my lecture, when they listen to my lecture, they do not see only ideas, they see ideas incarnate. They see ideas lived out, They see the ideas as I embody them. So they do not only believe me because they see what I am, but also they are convinced that I'm speaking the truth because it's all about my life. It's all about, me. Of course, some people who do not really like me, they'll say, oh, he is so egotistical. He only thinks about himself. But my point is, maybe, just maybe, that is what we should be. As teachers, we should just be ourselves. Otherwise, we're all the same. If you're talking mathematics, teacher A is 1 plus 1, teacher A is 1 plus 1, and everybody is saying 1 plus 1. But which teacher makes you believe that 1 plus 1? Okay? Which teacher convinces you more easily that 1 plus 1? There is that particular teacher who you believe, whose words you believe. Okay? There are so many writers in the Philippines, and some of you may like them, some of you may not like them, some of you may like me, some of you will not like me. And again, this is the 21st century. I don't care if you don't believe me, because I know that some people will. So, did something change in my pedagogy? No. And I will tell you that the best way for the students to trust us, okay, whether we're teaching history, whether we're teaching science, astronomy, medicine, and all that, is just being true to ourselves. And as I said, this is something that we may miss in the online communication when we're mouthing information more than the truth. Okay, there's a difference between just mouthing information. By mouthing information, I can tell you that, Ninoy Aquino, President Ninoy Aquino died on June 24. Okay, that's information. But when I say that Ninoy Aquino, who I voted for and I met who I convinced to run for the president, I'm a fan of Cory. When Cory died, I visited them in their house on 25 Times Street in Quezon City, and Senator Aquino was just coming in, and the guard said, I can talk to the senator. And I talked to the senator, and I said, Senator, I want you to run. I talked to the people in the bus, in the taxis and all that, and they said that they're gonna vote air up, yada yada yada. But if you run, they will vote for you. And on that same day and that same night, Ninoy Pinoy went to the Carmelite Sisters or something, and he went on a retreat because after the retreat, he had to talk to Mar Rojas and convince Rojas to run as his vice president. And So there's a difference between just telling that Pinoy, the president, the ex-president, died on June 24, and there's the truth telling. Okay, it's a story that I had that experience. So that is me. Of course, I'm putting myself in the story, but that's how it happened. And therefore, it's my truth. Whether you believe it or not, that's your problem. But I'm saying this is the truth and this is my truth. So as teachers in the online and distance learning, I think that we should communicate the truth more than anything else, because in the world where fake news and we're in the world where alternative realities are happening, we need to be the voice of reason and be the voice of truth. Okay, in the times when people are afraid of the vaccine, I need to witness. I need to make a testimony that the vaccine is doing good. And if I have the vaccine, I can travel. And therefore, I told you that I was in Vegas, I was in Utah, I passed by Arizona, I was in Maryland, now I'm in LA. So, you may think that this is not important, but this is truth telling. This is the truth that you need to know, that everybody needs the vaccine, and the vaccine is doing more good than harm. Because if you are just reading online, many people are discouraging you to get the vaccines, and you'd be sorry if the vaccines are available and you do not get it. Okay, so for me, it's important to communicate the truth.
Okay. Now, nowadays in the Philippines, one of the systems being used is what we call blended learning. Blended learning. Have you heard about it?
Yes.
So what can you say about that? Do you think it's an effective tool, or do you think assessment of students can be somehow affected because of this new blended system?
Okay, just to clarify, their blended is the modules and the online, and I guess in the future you're gonna have the face-to-face, right? Or in places where there are no COVID cases, they have the live, the face-to-face plus the modules, right? So any combination of this, is blended. So online and face-to-face, or online and modules, these are all also blended. Okay. Again, I am a 21st century education advocate. And for me, everything is good. Everything, we should be open to everything. Because in the future, our students now will become professionals. And they are professionals who can either work at home. Okay? So some of them really don't need face-to-face. If they can work their computer from home, then that's their job. Some of them, though, need to deliver food, need to be postmen, need to be frontliners. Okay, so they need people skills, and therefore they need to develop those too. Some of them, will end up with a job that requires them both knowledge and social skill that would need, being alone or being with a team, that they need to be in real time and in virtual reality. Okay, so as for the blended education, I think it is important that we know also how to assess them. Okay, so the assessment will be different from our traditional assessment. Okay, we cannot assess our students by the same standard that we use in a face-to-face setting. Okay, when we give the modules, we cannot just correct, we cannot just evaluate based on the modules, because we don't know who did the modules. Was the module done by a classmate? Was the module done by the elder brother and sister? Was the module done by a parent? Was the module done by a neighbor who they paid money to get high scores? Okay? So we need, and then so that is the educator's problem. That is the module maker's problem. Okay? But I'm saying we cannot evaluate them as if they were done in the classroom where everybody has no chance of cheating, or if they have the chance of cheating, they are not caught cheating. But I'm saying with a supervision of a teacher, that's a different, and this is and I really think that this should be common sense, that because you have a different mode of teaching, you have a different mode of giving information, then you should have a different mode of measuring or evaluating the learning or the knowledge gained by the student. Okay, and it is, and I think that is the biggest mistake, where you give a module and then you just check the module, you correct the work, and you base the grade of the student on the ratings in the module. That is so wrong, because you don't know who did the module. And then we have this stupid things like, oh, the modules are late, I'm not gonna accept them. That is what you do in the classroom. 5 minutes, last 5 minutes. Okay, if you don't submit the paper after that time, your paper is disqualified. That is okay in the classroom if you have all the students in the classroom. But, okay, there is COVID. You cannot have late modules, because if the module is late by a day, it's possible that, it was just not delivered on time because something happened. And you cannot force the students to submit the module on a Sunday if, they have other things to do. What if the parent got sick? The parent who should, give the module got a job. And because people are jobless, they grab the opportunity between earning $500 a day and submitting the module. Which do you think should be prioritized? So those are the things that people need to recognize. The modules are different, and so the online thing, you cannot persecute a student. You cannot give a low student because he's absent. Because what the hell? They don't have the signal. They don't have load. They don't have money. They don't have Wi-Fi. So we cannot, the deadlines have to be stretched. If we are to be humane, if we are to be human beings, if we have to understand people, then that's what we should do. That we should look at the big picture. And for me, this is all what I'm saying. For 21st century learning, we need to look at the big picture.
Okay. Sir Peter, somebody who's teaching a natural science, biology or laboratory, is interested to know something about, now in the US, considering now we are having the pandemic, what are the special approach being used right now to teach a laboratory? Somebody from the net wants to know something about that. The US.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea?
Yeah, well, I've seen my nephew, but these are in the elementary. They did the study of the cicada, because there's a cicada, but they would observe people are still planting seeds, observing the growth of a mung bean, I don't know exactly what they want. I think if they're doing dissection of a frog, that's a different thing. They need to be supervised. I know that there are labs that not everybody has formalin, so you cannot knock the frog unconscious. I know in chemistry you need beakers and burners and all that, and of course you cannot do that at home. Oh God, so I really can't answer that because I have no direct experience. I've seen them doing their work.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any of my nephews burning burning gas or something, burning some substance for the chemistry. But I'm telling you, my university classmates, most of them are doctors. They do perform, but these are students older than 21 or 22, right? They have a medical course, whether nursing or biology or whatever, and then they proceed to medical school, and then but you know they meet actual students and all that. But they were having difficulty too, and they are angry. The doctor friends who are also teaching, they're angry because it's taking too much of their time. Like what you can do in an hour, like in a classroom when you're lecturing, you need to do a lot more, because first you have to write the module, you have to and then send and then wait. So it's taking too much of the time. And I think for depth ed, that's the problem too, that the teachers are spending more time, okay, from what they do in the actual and face-to-face mode of teaching. So I'm sorry about the natural science. I have no information about how they're doing things during the pandemic. They could be on hold though. But I think earlier in Maryland, the students have already returned to school and all that. And in some states, the United States is crazy. It's like 50 crazy states, each one managing COVID differently. In some places, they continue to have school and all that.
Okay. Now, considering distance and blended learning environment, can you tell us how to control the academic integrity of students?
That's kind of tough because in the Philippines, even without the blended learning and the distance education, the integrity of the students is always questionable. We are known as the Kodigo people. We are known as the cheaters and all that. If there's a way to cheat, we would cheat and all that. So the integrity, the academic integrity, I think really only is meaningful to those people who really want to learn and who really want to be sorry, do you need me? Okay. I'm just gonna answer a text message for a moment. Oh. And we are going, we are going until what time again? Sorry, today?
Sure.
Sir?
11:30. 11:30.
11:30. Oh my God. So that's about an hour more? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, academic integrity is such a big word, and it's only a word that is understandable to teachers. Only we can really understand academic integrity. It's a value that we are looking for in our students. But let me just be safe and say that this academic integrity matters to those students who really want to excel in life, who really want to, make good in education. All the rest, they just want to pass the subject. They just want to, and they will do anything and everything to pass the subject. Like, whether they have to cheat, lie, or, borrow or steal to be able to pass, they will do it. So there is not much, really, honestly, there's not much academic integrity in the Philippine educational system. If there's a chance, our parents are always pushing us to be honor students, to be academic achievers. So if there's any chance, they would do it. I know that during the pandemic, when people were given the modules, the parents were answering, and sometimes it is a contest between parents. It's not about how smart the student is; it's how smart the parents are, because they're the ones answering the modules. But if I were a student and I really want to learn, I really want to be true, and I have that integrity, personal integrity and honesty, I will do things my way, whatever the whatever the outcome, like, if even if I answer them incorrectly. And therefore, it is very important for the teachers to be there and to make the students understand again that it's not about the grades, it's not about the scores, it's not about placing. Okay, it's all about learning. But many of our system are also failing us because we award things. We are so grade conscious as a people. We are so medal conscious. And I've already questioned, I've already criticized yesterday the cheap medals that we are giving the students, like awarding medals every quarter. That's just wrong. That is imposing, that is encouraging people to cheat. Because if in the first grading your classmate get a medal and you don't have a medal, you want to have a medal too on the second grading, and you will cheat, you will do anything. It does not encourage learning or real learning. But if everybody is graded and everybody is quiet, people are struggling. At the end of the year, there's only one medal to win. Then they will look forward to that, and they will, compete without knowing who is first in the first grading, who is, getting all the medals in the first grading. And so people are all driven. Okay. But if you have already a medal in the first grading and you say, oh, this is so easy, I've done it and all that. So you get confident too, and then you may try to slack. Okay. So again, while I am advocating the forwardness of the 21st century, let us rediscover those good things from the past century that should be working. I thought that there was nothing wrong with a yearly awarding, and I don't know why DepEd went into the quarterly awarding of medals and everything.
Okay. Now, based on your experience, can you suggest any effective online tool to work on collaborative learning?
Specific schools?
Specific online tool to work
tools.
On, collaborative learning. Yes. Can you suggest?
Oh my God. There are some stuff I'm pretty sure. I'm most of my experience is working, like, kind of reading all the materials in with the universities here in the United States, like big universities. They have courses, like, for example, so while I was researching literature and creative writing and contemporary arts, I was looking at their courses, their competencies and all that. But I think you may be interested to look at Issue. It was suggested to me. It's an app. I think it's called, its Issue is ISSUU or ISSU. And this is a writing and publishing platform where people can read what other people are writing. It's very much like Wattpad, but there's more literary, and I'm not sure if it's, am I sure if it's moderated, but it has, magazine formats and all that. So these are stuff that students can do. There are such blogs, for example, that are academic in nature. So they can be used if you're into literature. Billy Collins run a poetry, I think it's called poetry.com, a poetry site where they have a poetry a day, like, one poem a day, so to bring poetry closer to the people. I don't know what you're talking. I don't know which level are you interested though. Like, if you're interested for the elementary, for the high school, for the college, so these things would matter. Like for me, most of my research and concentration were for senior high school in the Philippines. So even if they are senior high school, I've already been in touch or working with, materials that are in the university level, in the college level, because for me, senior high school is freshman and sophomore college.
Okay. Now, do you have any suggestion when it comes to the quality control of providing modules to students?
Who are controlling our modules? We have our quality assurance, but in the depth ed setting, these are volunteers. These are people who are appointed, and some of them are I'm feeling nagsusuper-superan, acting like Superman, they volunteer because they feel they can do it. But feeling that you can do it, one thing that you may do it is different from competency. Module writing is a discipline. It's a special knowledge. It's not for everybody. So I don't know who is training depth ed, and therefore I don't know where they are coming from. I was just lucky that when I worked with Diwa Publishing, I was trained by the people who are in the textbook business. Okay. So they've been working in the textbook for decades. So they know what they're doing. Otherwise, the books won't get published, right? Because people are, putting capital. So the books need to be of a certain quality. They have to be reviewed. They have to be edited. Okay. And therefore, to make sure that the authors like me develop the modules in the standard that they need, they gave me special training. Okay. And they saw how well I performed, and therefore they gave me the contract. Okay. So that's basically my question. Who are training these depth ed teachers to be writing the modules? Do they even understand? Do they even have an instructional design? Okay. And if so, where is the instructional design coming from? When I started in Diwa, they gave me designs to review, and then they asked me if I could, pattern my design on their existing designs. And that's what I did in the first edition of Creative Writing. When they asked me to do the 21st century literature and contemporary arts, I told them, well, I am not comfortable with your design anymore. I have been studying the design thinking process, and I think that, this is more important. They have the idea of design thinking process, but they call it design thinking approach. And they're only using part of the design thinking approach as an enrichment, as an added attraction. I'm saying, okay, you do that in your other textbooks, but in my textbook, I want it to be the whole process. I want it the centerpiece. I want to make this textbook the most unique in Philippine educational system, in Philippine educational system history. I want a book that is practicing the design thinking process in all steps of the lesson, of the module, because I believe this is what 21st century learning, 21st century reality is doing. We have an app. We give this. We study the market. We do not create the app blindly. We want to see who are using the apps. Okay? Take Facebook, for example. Facebook studies who needs this. These are needed by students to connect. What do they want? What can we do? What are the features that are needed? So we have a brainstorming. And then what is the prototype? The Facebook that we have now is not the same as the Facebook that we have in 2004. Because when we tested it, we realized that, oh, this can be improved. And therefore, we went back to the whole cycle of the design thinking process. So it's all about the design, it's all about the complexity, it's all about the process. And for me, that is important. That's why I made it the centerpiece of my instructional design. So my question is to these people who are writing the modules, what is your instructional design based on? Is it based on the guidelines of DepEd? Is it something that you copied from a Western pedagogy that needs cultural correction? Because, as I said, what is in the US can be applicable to the Philippines, but, okay, let us also not lose sight that some of these materials have to be cross-culturally corrected. Like, it has to be translated to the language of the Filipinos, okay? What do I mean by cross-cultural correction? For example, same-sex marriage, okay? Same-sex marriage, it's okay in America, and in most states of America, it's not to all of American states, okay? Now, because people see that, and because it's in the news, they think that it can be done in the Philippines. And so people are filing bills that, there should be same-sex marriage in the Philippines. It should be honored. I'm saying no. The Philippines is a different kind of animal. It's a different country. It has different people. The church has a strong influence on our politicians. However, there is a division of the state. And so we cannot just translate so easily. And therefore, there has to be cross-cultural corrections. And therefore, if your pedagogy is of Western origin, you might need to consider cross-cultural correction. And I've done that. And I did my homework. In my adaptation of the design thinking process, there is that concept of design thinking process, but I've seen how it should be done in the Philippines. Okay, so that's why I am confident with my books, because I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, now this is still all about quality learning. Do you believe that high quality learning can still take place without face-to-face interaction? Consider your experience when it comes to teaching writing or literature.
Yeah, I really think so. Again, it also boils down to the kinds of learners that we have. Like, I think you begin to question that when you are a Y generation thinker or an X generation thinker, and that you don't have too much trust, because we are so used in the past century, we are so used to face that we only think that only the face-to-face is the quality, is where we get the quality education. But our learners are Gen Z. And again, they're learning so much, even without us, they're learning so much from online. Okay? They know more about things. They know how to order food. They know how to order a taxi. They know where to find answers to the solutions. They know read it. They know Brainly, PH. They know, things that we don't even know as educators. They know where to get the answers. Even before our teachers know Wattpad, our students knew Wattpad. They know where to find porn. They know where to find funny stuff. They know where to get the memes, which YouTube channels to subscribe. So, if that is the way they learn, they can definitely learn from us online if we have our, if we got our stuff together. If we are having effective online lessons, online modules, if we know and adjust our evaluation for online mode, if we if we perfect our stuff, students will learn from this. Okay, so quality education is still possible because, again, if we are answering the questions, if we are answering the needs and the demands of our users and learners, then what could be more excellent, what could be more meaningful and useful? Because after all, education is knowing what we need to know. Okay? It's not about the extraneous things that the teachers are doing in a face-to-face interaction. So yes, excellence, even academic integrity, is still possible in online and distance learning if we know what we're doing.
Now, in your case, teaching writing, are you the kind of teacher who gives a lot of assignments or homework to measure your students' learning?
Yeah, because writing is an output. It's an output based course. You can only gauge what they've learned or how they applied what they learned by their output. But I do not punish myself and require long output. Again, this is a century where people are getting into the small bites, the small bite size. So for a story, for example, if I'm teaching a short story is like 4,000 to probably 10,000 words. I don't have patience for that. Okay, unless you pay me big amounts of money to read your crappy story, I will read your crappy story. But because I'm a good writer, I can decide, I can judge, I can evaluate a story based on the first sentence alone, based on the first paragraph alone. And therefore, I require stories that are probably 250 to 300 words. If they have so many patients, if I have so many students or learners, I require 250 to 300 words. For poetry, I know people would like to just jump into poetry and write their poetry. No, for me, I start assessing their works with one sentence. I require one sentence poems, and then or one sentence or one line poems, and then those people who are improving, and if I know that they understand what I'm talking about, I progress to two lines, and then 3 lines and 4 lines. Because when you have established the building blocks, reading their longer works gets easier. Rather than read the whole long work and just find the one that is done right, and then circling it, or emphasizing it, or underlining, or making them notice that's more difficult. But if you start with one line or one sentence, and you make sure that they understand what you want, okay, it's easier to see their progress and their learning. And then you move on to 2 lines or 2 sentences. So that's how I teach poetry. For playwriting, I start with a page of dialogue, and then I go for 3 minutes, which means 3 pages, and then I go to 5-minute plays, and then if there are not many people, I check their 10-minute plays.
Okay. Do you do a rigid teaching if you have only 1 or 5 students compared to 10 students? Are you getting more rigid, more strict?
Um, I haven't really done one-on-one. There was one who was supposed to do it with me, but of course the cost become prohibitive. This is a daughter of a politician. They got money, and I'm thinking, no, I need to collect more if I'm going to spend time with you and all that. With bigger crowds, I can afford to be cheap or can afford to be free, because sometimes, people who are interested, they're just interested, but they're so poor, they don't have money, and that's part of my campaign to, if I want to get rid, I want to get rid of the bad writers and the bad poets in the world, then I would rather teach for free and make sure that everybody, learns, okay, or, stop trying to be bad poets and all that. No, but I am the kind of performer who would perform the same thing for one person or 1,000, so I'm being honest, I'm being authentic, I'm being true, I'm being theatrical for you all. Where I don't know whether it's only you who are watching me, or there are 5,000 people watching me, or 500. I really don't care. Or this is going to be streamed, and there are going to be millions of watchers and all that. So yeah, that's it. I'm the kind of person who pays attention to everything, and would give, if it's about writing and it's something that I'm passionate about, it's the same quality, it's the same truth, it's the same passion that I give out, it's the same ardor. Yep.
Okay, somebody wants to know, quite curious about, please mention the most common obstacles you have ever faced while teaching online.
Obstacles other than the connection in the Philippines?
Most common obstacles faced by you while teaching online.
Other than the connection in the
Yes.
Philippines?
That's right. Other than that.
There is really nothing for me, because I feel that I am so comfortable doing this. I know what I'm talking about. I know how I am being perceived. I kind of understand, my students. And when they are not paying a lot of money to me, I really do not stress myself, because I am no obligation. I am under no obligation to change your mind. Okay, I'm telling you the truth. I'm teaching you what I know. If you don't want it, I don't want to kill myself and make you change your mind. So I'm not your school teacher. Okay, I'm not your school teacher who need to give you a passing grade, and therefore I need to beat you to perform so that you pass the course, and so I can give you a passing grade and you can move on to the next level. I am not that kind of teacher. Okay, so I am not bound to pass you. I'm not bound to give you a passing grade. I'm not bound by a contract to give you a passing grade. I can just fail you if you don't listen to me, or you can just I can just humiliate you until you stay away from me. So
Okay.
no, I do not feel an obstacle. I do not feel a barrier. I do not feel things constricting me. The only real problem is getting that other end. I feel that I know everything. I am perfect here. The only problem is the receiver of the lesson or the education. So if this receiver do not have Wi-Fi or cannot attend to the class at my schedule, then that's the big problem there. But again, I have no problem with time, because as I said, I'm basically up 24/7. I don't sleep much. I write most of the time. If not, I'm watching movies. So I take small naps, and that's it.
Okay. Now, there is doubt that teaching or learning online has become a pain in the neck worldwide. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Can you suggest any solution to bridge such gap?
Number one, again, it's the mindset. I think that it's becoming a problem because we are forced to it without easing us, without breaking us into it. It's when you're just like forced, when you're pushed in the river or pushed in the water, pushed in the sea, and you don't know how to swim, then you struggle so much. And when you struggle so much, that causes your pain in the neck because you're tired, you're exhausted, you don't know what you're doing, there's no direction. But if people are very early on put in the water, in the swimming pool, and then they are guided and break through, yada, 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 swim 1 meter, 2 meters, extend, extend, extend until you can swim 25 meters, okay? That's a different thing. If you are eased into the system, then you take it on because you have developed your muscle. You do not carry the weight 25 kilos all at once. You start carrying 1 kilo, 2 kilos, 3 kilos, and then as you grow your muscles, you carry the 25 kilos. What happened with the pandemic was, and especially in the Philippines, you were forced to carry 25 kilos all at once because, otherwise you have academic freeze. Otherwise, you lose your salary. So you carried 25 kilos from day one, and you're going to carry it until the end of the school year. Of course, it's going to be a pain in the neck because you don't know what you're doing. But if it's done little by little, then you would have adjusted. You would have discovered what works, what does not work. You would have discovered solutions, creative solutions, and then, you would have understood what you're doing. And therefore, even if it's a little difficult, it's a little painful, if you understand the value of what you're doing, weight is nothing. The burden is lessened because you have a bigger picture. And that's the same with our students. With online teaching or with distance education, with the modules and everything, everybody was forced to it and there was no adjustment. So it became just difficult for everyone. But if we started slowly with one module, okay, and we assess this, okay, did we do well? This is effective. Then we can have, okay, let's do 2 lessons in modules, So you you can do blending, yada, yada, yada. You can do online, yada, yada, yada. If we are eased into it, there would have been no problem. But again, that is the ideal. The problem was what happened was not ideal. What's unexpected. Nothing that the world ever expected. We did not know how to deal with a pandemic. And then, we made rush decisions. The DepEd continued. There was no academic freeze, yada, yada, yada. Everybody was given a new thing. And most people are resistant to change. And so when they're changing, and when there's a change, they always feel the pain because I'm not sure what it is. I'm not familiar with how this works. And this is so different from me. Before, I wake up 6:30 and then rush to class at 7 o'clock. Now I have to do everything early because I need to prepare for this new mode, yada, yada, yada. Before weekends, I enjoy my weekends, and now I have to work in the weekends because I have papers to correct. I have to distribute and to staple and to print all these modules and everything. So, people are overworked, people are fatigued, and then people are also fatigued of the COVID. So it's not just the online thing, it's this interaction of this online education, distance education, plus the stress of the unknown of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay? Add to that the social distancing that has, kind of made a lot of people crazy. The uncertainty when the rest of the world have started to be normal, and yet in the Philippines, the vaccines are not available. So, these are the things that affect the mental health, and therefore the feeling of the pain in the neck.
Okay, the next question is, there are times when we teach writing online, students get bored. Do you have any strategy or approach to use, like any ice-breaking activities when you feel that students get bored?
Oh my God. I think my bigger problem with that is it does not happen to me, and therefore it's hard to find a solution for something that is not my problem. But I'm gonna try to think. I'm gonna try to think about it. Why does it not happen to me? It does not happen to me because people come to me. Okay, they are interested. They come to me. I do not force them to attend my workshop. They are begging to get into my workshop. Okay. Now, in the school setting, they are forced to take your class, right? They have enrolled, they have invested money in it. They need to listen to you. Okay. For me, in my class, they don't need to listen to me, but they want to listen to me because I have something new to say. Okay. But in most depth ed or creative writing lessons, they are in the class because, well, it's required. It's, it's a course requirement. So, what do I do? But I also feel that, students also want to feel important. So, as I would do in an actual and a live face-to-face education, involving them, asking them questions, or letting them ask questions would actually hook them in. Again, I'm of the philosophy that, ask them what they want to know. Because if they cannot ask questions, if they cannot tell you what they want to know, maybe they don't want to know anything. But to get their opinion, make them a part of the conversation, that is very important in keeping their interest. They know that you are there for them, that you really care about them, that you see them. Most students, most people, especially in social media, they feel depressed because they feel that nobody sees them. Okay? Schools, I think that's the same too. If they are not seen by their boyfriends or their crushes, if they are not crushed back, they feel they are ignored. So can you imagine if the teacher is also ignoring you, or the teacher does not see you? So it is important for the teachers to let their students know that the teachers see the students, see them. And the only way you can ensure that is to ask, is to have an interaction with a student. What do you need? What do you want? Okay. What do you have any questions that I can answer? And that for me is the basis of being hooked. Okay. Of in a class. Okay. When you are made to feel important, when you are recognized, then you keep your attention. You give your attention.
Okay. Teaching writing is your cup of tea. That's your field of expertise, right? So
Yes.
this is quite a personal question. What is your major positive aspect of COVID-19 on your field of expertise?
What is my, come again?
What is the major positive aspect of COVID-19 on your field of expertise?
I got more audience. I got more people because, like, with the pandemic and everything, people they get so bored, they wanted to do something. They form online communities and online writing communities, since without the the secondary schools press conference or elementary schools press conference that start in the division and then goes regional and go national. Without that, people still want to write and compete, and so they have this online writing conventions or conferences. I don't know what it's called, Ricon, WRI for writing, and then the con, that could be contest, that could be conference, that could be convention. So they have this Ricon and they compete. Okay, they have their works evaluated and all that. So and many of them want to improve their writing. So they have established, I'm pretty sure from July, when the COVID really became a big reality in the Philippines, there are some groups who started their writing hood. They call them writing brotherhood or writing sisterhood, or just simply writing hood. And it is an online community of, student writers. And I've seen some with, I don't know, 24,000 followers, 74,000 members, and all that. So that is big. That is big. Now, and I got involved. I got, into this world of Ricons and young writers, and then of course they become, when I criticize them via their Wattpad entries, criticize their role play communities, criticize their smart writing and all that, then I became kind of a big target for them. But also, I told them, like, if you want to fight me, if you want to quarrel with me, you have to research about me and know where I'm coming from. So they started reading about me, and they got my point. They understood me, and so I would say that my my followers just increased. So that's the good thing that happened in the pandemic. But again, as a person, as I said, I am a single gay man living alone in Maryland, and I'm mostly by myself, keep to myself. I read my books. I have a very extensive collection. I have at least 5,000 books in my personal collection, and these are all bought, and this would cost, I don't know, 2 million pesos at the very least, and that's the intrinsic value. And I would have DVDs, and then lately I've discovered, like, online streaming. So, but I've been collecting rare films and all that. So, with all these resources, and I'm just expanding my intellectual, knowledge, growth, expanding that intellectual exposure. The pandemic was kind of normal for me. Like, I don't really go out a lot even without the pandemic. You know, in my sex life, I got some apps that deliver boys at my doorstep. So yeah, basically, I was good with the pandemic. So, but the most positive thing that happened as a writer, as a teacher of writing, for me was to increase my fans, my following, to increase the number of people who know me and who are now familiar with my poetics. People, new fans, just new supporters. So being a voice that the young Filipinos are listening to, and they are so creative. They have created so many hashtags for me. There's the hashtag, the PSN. There's a PSN lang malakas. Like, all these things, like, kind of awesome. Like, it's just amazing. And I thank the pandemic for that, because now they have the focus. Without the pandemic, they would not have the focus, because they would be in the malls, they would be, flirting with their boyfriends and girlfriends in school, they would be doing other things, they would be buying booba, they would be drinking milk tea, they would be shopping and all over the place. But with the pandemic, they're quarantined in the house, they do their modules, and then after their modules, they do something else, and that something else happens to be writing. So, they're looking for resources online. They got their group chats and all that. And then you just know one person, and they would tell, oh, Peter Solisneri is doing this, yada, 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 word of mouth, and you get involved in the whole community. Yes.
Okay, to almost wrap it up, how would you, is there anything to be done to guarantee fairness in the evaluation of distance learning?
Oh my goodness. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard, really, to see that, that we can be fair, that we can be correct in assessing, because again, there is no guarantee that it is our students writing or answering the modules. Okay, but for me, twofold. Okay, number one, we need to be understanding of our student situation. So for one, deadline for me is not a good measure. Okay, deadline is not a good measure, because again, things can happen, and I have already given the example for that. But we need to have deadlines, but we don't need to be strict about it, because what if we fail the deadline? If we are parents also, and we have our child is sick, and we need to collect the modules, then we are late, because I'm gonna fix my child first before I collect the modules. So the deadline is not a good answer. Number two, in our assessments, I really think that people should, let the students kind of express things, so you will know by what they learn. So sometimes in the evaluation, I'm taking continuing education unit, CEU, for nursing. Okay, and the quiz, to evaluate, we don't evaluate what we read. We evaluate whether we understood, and we make comments. Okay, was the presentation orderly? Was it comprehensive? Yada, yada, yada. So if you, for example, this is an online thing, if you evaluate your participants, okay, those listening to me, you don't test them on what I said. You don't test them on my 5 recommendations for the improvement of online and distance learning. You don't ask them that, they just listen. But you ask them whether they understood Peter Solisneri. Did you understand the speaker? Was the speaker knowledgeable? Did the speaker cover, okay, what he said he wanted to cover? Was the talk organized? Was so all these questions. Did you feel that the speaker was genuine, was true, was speaking from his heart? And when the participants are saying, yes or no, if they're answering that yes or no, who are you to judge that they did not learn? Maybe they learned, maybe they saw, maybe they felt. They may not get the first level knowledge, which is the what, the how, the who, and the why, the journalistic, but they understood the implication. They understood, they interpret, they may not exactly recall, right? The recall, there you go. They may not exactly recall or understand the terms that I use, but in their heart, they understood what I meant. And this is more important, the interpretative part, that they're able to analyze and interpret. And higher is, will they be able to apply what I've been talking about in their own situation? Because application is the much higher form of knowledge. In the depth of knowledge, application is much higher, level 4, compared to the recall, which is just level 1. It's important that we know level 1, but it is more important that we know level 4, because, okay, we may do things without realizing their names. Okay, I don't care in the teaching of poetry. I don't care if you don't know what the name of that figure of speech is. What is most important is that we use that figure of speech effectively. So, by reflecting, okay, on the writer, okay, you do not ask, like, did you learn anything from the writer? They just say yes or no, and you cannot verify that. But you ask them the right questions. Was the writer speaking knowledgeably? Was the writer showing some form of expertise? Did he cover the subjects that he wanted to cover? The only problem in this, like, whole webinar and all that, is I don't know exactly what you want me to talk about. Like, you know, you're talking about online and distance education, but I'm not sure whether it is applicable to, you know, to the modules in the Philippines, to the grade level, to the, you know, to the high school level, or to the collegiate level, or to the post, you know, postgraduate studies. And I don't really know my audience, like, you know, like, you know, who am I talking to? So that's kind of strange, but, like, you know, I felt that I could try to communicate to a universal person. So my teaching, my talking, you know, my lecture or my sharing is not meant to really just an academe, but I'm talking to a person, like, you know, a universal person. So anybody who has access to this streaming would know that I am talking to another human being, and that's my goal. And, you know, I'm sure the discussion could have gone differently if I knew what age
Okay.
levels you are.
Now,
Hello, Sir Jimmy.
yes, I'm listening.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'm okay. I'm done.
Now, before we finally end it, can you?
Sir? I get that.
Yes. Any parting words, Sir Peter?
Oh. Parting words. Again, just that, like, you know, life is complicated. Life is short. Life is unpredictable. It throws us oddballs, and, you know, and the curves. The pandemic has shown us that. And therefore, I want everybody to be enjoying life and having life to the fullest. Education is just part of the big picture of our life. We still need to build relationships. We still need to care for the planet. We still need to be healthy. We still need to protect ourselves. And so, to live life more fully, we need to understand the big, I already said the big picture, but also the bigger picture of our 21st century reality. And what is our 21st century reality? It is a life that is dominated by technology. It is a life affected by mental illness, and that is caused by the disconnect from other people. And therefore, we need to deal with this in a holistic manner. Okay, our education may go towards the technological and information computer technological way, and therefore can go online. But does that mean that our lives are going to change dramatically, in a sense that we can exclude all the other aspects that I have mentioned, especially about relationships? It's still it's still important that we connect in the genuine, in the more honest self. Technology and the computer, especially social media, can dissociate us, can create false people out of us, because we invent a personality, and especially we adjust when we are in front of a camera. But our call, again, firstly, is to be genuine human beings. We need to celebrate our stories. We need to be aware of our environment, because in the end, it is our story that matters. Everything around us are supporting characters, in the same manner that we are also supporting characters to their stories. What is important is that we sing our truth and keep the golden rule of not harming people, not causing evil and pain to other people, spread goodness, being nice. And part of being nice, of course, in this pandemic is not to spread the disease. And not to spread the disease means getting vaccinated and protecting yourself. What else? So yeah, be good. And I think I'm not the first person to say that. God wants you to be good. The superpower wants you to be good, and we want the good to triumph in the end. We want the good values of honesty, whether we're talking about academic integrity or our personal integrity. We need to just be ourselves, not so much tied to the values of the past century, that we forget to open ourselves. All those moral values, these are changing. And if we are so tied to these moral values of the past century, they may not serve us very well. You may die an old maid, you may die without having a jowa, because your standards are so past the century. In the new century, everybody gets swipe left, swipe right. The boy is 5 meters away, 5 kilometers away. You have these apps to date and meet people and all that. Use them to your advantage. Read the Bible, or if you're a Muslim, read the Quran. Read sacred books, okay, and read them from beginning to end and understand life, because it's not called the good book for nothing. Okay, so but again, as I said, what most people miss is that they don't read the Bible from beginning to end. They cut the Bible wherever they want. So, but we cannot use that. We cannot just choose what we want. Of course, when we are in a restaurant, you only choose what you want. You order what you want. But sometimes it is important also to order something that is different, to increase your exposure, your mental, your experience of life. Okay, sexuality wise, this new century has seen sexual fluidity, people experimenting, yada yada yada. So that's part of this century. It's reality. Do not rely on social media for your acceptance. We don't worry about the likes and the cares and the hearts and the wows and all that. People may not be sincere, okay? And sometimes they just get tired, or sometimes they're just jealous of you. You put a beautiful picture and only 3 people like it. Don't feel bad. It's still a beautiful you, okay? I don't know, okay, maybe you can use the filter. I am not against people using filter, but do not delude yourself that you are as beautiful as Lisa Soberano if you don't look like Lisa Soberano, or do not delude yourself that you're as handsome as James Reid if you are so black and dark skinned and brown and whatever. So just that, be yourself, find happiness in yourself, continue to make relationships. Okay, relationships are important. Use social media is a game. Use it, enjoy it, but do not rely on social media for your self-worth, because in the end, the people that you don't know really don't care about you. They only care for the things that they can laugh about, that they can be smart about. Okay. And the things that matter is you and your faith in God, faith in yourself, faith in your family, and faith in the planet and the general goodness. God, do I sound like a saint now? Chush.
Anyway, Sir Peter, thank you very much. First and foremost, we want to say thank you for sharing with us your expertise when it comes to bridging online communities. But the most important thing is we want to say thank you to you because you have made us realize that life is so beautiful. And there are a lot of things to enjoy in life. There are a lot of things to need to have to build when it comes to having relationship. I think that's what matters the most now after the entire world was hit by the pandemic, right? Life is always beautiful. And enjoy life. And I, Sir Peter, hope to see you back here in the Philippines when you come back here. We would like to see you personally. Actually, Roger and I are really good friends, and I've heard a lot about you. Yeah. So again, thank you very much. Keep safe there in the US, and keep safe when you get back to the Philippines. Goodbye, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, God bless. Stay safe.
Thank you. So again, we want to say thank you again to Yuri Internet for this great webinar, and of course to the following people who have really extended a lot of help, especially the overall chairman, Dr. Rome V. Moralista, and of course to the Vice President of Internal Affairs, Dr. Gabriel de la Llarte, the Vice President for External Affairs, Dr. Joey S. de la Cruz, also Guimaras State University, our beloved President, Dr. Lilian Diana B. Pareño, and of course, the Dean of Graduate Studies of Guimaras State College, Dr. Early M. Martir. Thank you very, very much. Now to all our participants, the link for the evaluation has been posted already on the comment section of the YouTube. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to make comments on the comment section. And again, hope to see you back. Enjoy life. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hope to see you again for the next webinar series. Just keep on learning, because learning is a journey. It's an unending journey. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy your beautiful Sunday.
Located in Western Visayas, it is made up of 5 municipalities, namely Jordan, the gateway and main growth center; Buena Vista, which serves as the center for higher education; Nueva Valencia, the tourism capital; Sibunag and San Lorenzo, which are centered on agriculture and fisheries. Considered as the agri-eco tourism capital in the region, The province economic picture sustained its upward direction, giving importance to our major economic drivers: agriculture, fishery, and tourism. The province still has the green, raw land for ecotourism development and agricultural production, anchored on the principles of integrated coastal management and the presence of areas with high aesthetic value that can be developed into high-end residential areas. Guimaras is also the transshipment hub and seaport province that links Panay and Negros and is considered as a metro residential suburb, providing low-cost and high-end facilities. Investment in the province boomed on 2013 when 27 wind turbines that generate 54 megawatts were installed. Guimaras completed the paving of circumferential roads and upgraded the cross-island links, the development of ports and wharves, as well as the development of the 71-kilometer agri-tourism circuit. The province has also received awards and recognition for good governance, especially in the aspects of peace and order, ease of doing business, and environmentally sustainable development. It has significantly improved its competitiveness in terms of economic dynamism, government efficiency, infrastructure, and resiliency, making Guimaras the most competitive province in Western Visayas. Guimaras is mangoes and more. Get a share of more. Invest in Guimaras.
Nothing left, so hold on tight as the hurricane breaks defense. Stay hidden from the causes that might.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to Magan Festival Cultural Presentation.
Take me away, I'm running for my life, for my life. What's with your delay? You're only killing time, killing time. So take me away, I'm running for my life, for my life. And what's with your delay? You're only killing time, killing time. Take me away.
The island of Guimaras, a rural tourism destination for every family. Renowned throughout the world for its sweet mangoes, it offers home and all the sweetness of being part of it. With its strategic location in between Negros and Panay Island, you can easily reach Guimaras through sea and sky. Get a more relaxed ambience with its green environment and be home to the true Filipino culture. Experience the life at the farm and the secrets of traditional living, and take part in protecting the unspoiled beauty of nature through the agri-eco tours. Go on adventure in foot or on bike in the trails of the hills and forests, and enjoy the thrills with everyone. Then, take a leap into the clear waters and witness the world underneath. Discover the mangrove sanctuaries rooted along the streams and rivers that run deep within the land. Take a tour in the hidden caverns and rock formations aesthetically landscaped along the islands. And at the end of the day, take a bite of the region's special cuisine and savor the sweetest of its mangoes. Relax at the homes of the communities or at the various resorts that offer quality services and amenities. Learn more about the Guimaras history and values with its historical places and practices. Amuse in the traditional arts that were handed down from generations, such as the novelty of the galleon boats, where the local boat makers highlight the province's vital role in the economy of the past, in trade, and as the masters in building ships. Observe the heart of the island's economy, where the families in every community value perseverance, discipline, and tradition. See how salt is made alongside the farmers that produce them. How the mothers neatly weave the buri leaf to intricately make handbags and other products. Buy some freshly caught fish from the fishermen who went offshore before the sunrise. And complete your experience by first-hand harvesting sweet mangoes only grown in the island. Mangoes are more than just fruits. It became the symbol of what Guimaras is and what it could become. Take a trip back in time.
wholeheartedly ang aton pagpamati sa ginahambal sa aton, ginatudlo sa aton, kay ini hindi lang para sa inyo, kundi madala ninyo ang aton probinsya into a tourism digital transformation.
I am very honored to be here and to be a participant of this Tourism Comp 2018 at Guimaras State College. We have a lot of learnings nga natunan, especially nakabuild kami sa teamwork, and I know how to cope with others.
3, 2, 1, go!
ako na-learn, isa na dito ang photography workshop namon. Kag ang pinaka the best ko gid nga na-learn is ang event organizing kay as an SK chairman, ma-implement sa amon nga barangay ang amon nga na-learn ko sa sininga kang.
I think dyan lang salang ni aring Jan Bilakson, DSWD, DOT, ang LGU nga nag-support sa sininga program. Personally, ma-partner kamo namon sa pag-push further sa development. Sa nasiling ko na it's 60, pero kung bulrigan, dani basi before malabotan 70% sa lalabuton sa probinsya sa Guimaras. So congratulations.
This is the party. This is the party. This is the party. This is the party. Party. Wherever we go, wherever we are, baby, we're the party. Wherever we go, wherever we are, baby, we're the party. Wherever we go, wherever we are, baby, we're the party. Baby, we're the party, yeah. Never ever going home, going home. Never ever going home, going home. Never ever going home, going home. No, never ever going home.
We thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us. Kag nagapasalamat ako sa pag-imbitar sa amon sa diring event sa Tourism Comp 2018.